So hi, we are making ourselves some masks that are as close to an N95 as we can. So to start off, we want to show you what we're making. This is a very simple duck bill type of a mask. And to put it on, it's very simple to put on. It simply goes up over the face. And then these little earpieces fit on, and voila, there you go. So that's what we're going to be making. So the supplies that you're going to need to start, we need this special filter fabric. And you'll notice as you look at it, this is a very simple 3M meant for your furnace. But what you're looking for is one that shows that it does cover for both bacteria and virus. I'm not worried about other items, just those two logos is what you're looking for. In addition to that, you will want pipe cleaners. And these happen to be some white. It doesn't matter what color you pick, but the standard fuzzy pipe cleaners. In addition, you're going to need the hair ties, but there are some special things to look for with the hair ties. First off, we happen to like the Scrunchy brand because they tend to last a little bit longer, but also you must go ahead and take one off. This is the comfort style, so you want something that does not have a really strong pull to it, fairly gentle, and also small diameter. So versus, just to show you, there's a million of them out there. You're not looking for any of these heavier styles, and you certainly want to be careful that they're not too small. In addition to that, you'll need your pattern. And this is something you can find online very easily. Just Google duck bill mask. And to know that you've got the right one, you can see this is an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, so you can see how it fits on there. And the overall size here is 10.5 inches by 4.5 inches. Now, one of the things that you'll notice is that this is missing a little line here, and this says sew. Those masks actually are suggesting that this is a sew line, but in fact what we do, once I've cut mine out, this becomes your fold line, and we'll show you how that works. So to start with, we want to show you what we're using. This is actually your basic filter for your home use, and you'll notice that this one covers both bacteria and virus. You don't need anything more than that. That'll take care of it. The particular size that we're using is 20 by 25, and that actually works especially well for what we're doing. The first step is in getting this undone, and I will say if you don't want bandages on all of your fingers, you want to think about doing it carefully. If you've got trauma shears, they work very nicely for just snipping off this particular end of it, cutting that all the way off, and I'm not going to do the whole thing right now, but it just lets you cut through it, and based on the size of what we're doing, you don't have to worry that you're wasting this little edge, and you will save a lot of horrible cuts to your fingers. And so I'm just ripping through this on the edge. I'm going to take that off. And then this edge over here, you'll notice I've started peeling it up. I'm working off on that and stripping that off. Again, really watch your fingers. And then the final step is going to be in peeling this away. And to wrap it kind of back on itself, ripping it off. You'll lose a little bit of this, but we're finding that that works okay. Keep it wrapping on itself. And once you're all done, you're going to end up with this nice big fan fold here. And of course, what you have to realize is you get to do both sides. So once you've done both sides, we're going to be coming over and you will end up with this very nice accordion material here. And now we need to flatten it out a little bit. So we've got an iron set on fairly high. And if you try to put this directly on the fabric, you'll immediately find out that you can't do it that way. So you need some kind of an ironing cloth. You'll also notice that what I've done here is I've got a chair here with just a clean pillowcase on it. And in the back here, I've got another chair with a clean pillowcase on it because this is really long. I've actually already used a good portion of this. This is easily double this length when you first start working with it. And so you don't want that dropping on your floor. So a pillowcase is easy. It's a double thickness. It'd be nice if I had a tea towel. That would actually work better. But this is what I had. And so we're going to just start by ironing this. and then kind of give it a little tug, which flattens it out underneath your iron. And you don't need this to be perfectly flat. You're just trying to get it enough so it'll behave as you try to work with it. And see, that flattens it out pretty nicely. Then we're going to pull it forward, and we're just going to keep on doing that until we get all the way through the whole fan fold here. So we have our pattern that we showed you before, and you'll notice that this is a fold line here. And so what's wonderful about these is that you simply count up 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fold lines. Fold it over on that, hold that down, take your pattern, set it on the fold line, and you'll notice that the top comes up, the top of this comes up a little above there. Don't worry, that's exactly where we want it, right there. So I'm just taking my little Sharpie and I'm making my basic line here. And it doesn't matter that it's not completely perfect. I'm just doing a nice quick cut here. I'm gonna bring it over here and I'm gonna repeat that right here. Here we go. Bringing it on down and then over to this side and on up to there. Okay, now I'm going to cut this line here. This is the end of that particular line there. So I just cut all the way along that. And you'll notice I'm cutting these out one at a time. For those of you who have those lovely rotary cutters, you could probably do a bunch of these at once, but I don't have one of those. So now I'm just gonna hold this nice and flat. And what's interesting is that a lot of fabrics, if I tried to cut them this way, they'd be slipping all over and make it really difficult to actually get these cuts to come out right. This holds itself very nicely in place and is quite easy to just hold to cut, because you do not want to be putting a bunch of pins in this, because then you are going to impact the fabric's protection against viruses and bacteria, because you'll be putting a bunch of extraneous holes into it, which we don't want to do. So you want to eliminate all pinning as part of the process. So now I have 2 of these from that length, and I'm simply going to continue counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, fold it up, go ahead and do my tracing both sides, cut this off at that line, and then make more. And I find that it's easiest to do about 10 at a time. So now we're going to go to the sewing machine. Okay, so we're at the sewing machine. No specific special supplies, obviously just some good thread. And we did put the tiniest sewing needle on here, which is a 1070. So if you do have a fine 70 needle, I think that that is best, just because it makes the smallest holes in the fabric possible. So I'm going to show you all the way through sewing just one, but as I said, I find it best to actually sew about 10 at a time, and then you just simply keep doing the same step over and over and over again. So to start, we're going to use all of these lovely little fold lines to actually help us out. And the first thing we're going to do is to fold this first line just over half. I'm actually going to back up, because I'm realizing you need to make sure you've checked which side is the right side and which side is the back side. And the right side is shinier, and the threads that are in it are much more compressed in. The back side also is shiny, but you'll notice that there's a lot more fibrinous fibers that are available there. And so that's part of when you first look at your filter, you can see on the edge which way is the front and which way is the back. And remember, we showed you that earlier. So we're just going to start by using a straight stitch and just going all the way across. And finish that one. And then on the opposite side, we're actually going to take one of our pipe cleaners and we're going to fold it in half, squeeze that fairly nice and tight there. That's going to fit right in the middle here. And where last time we folded this over literally on itself, we're actually going to use the full width here and fold it over. We've got the pipe cleaner halfway in there. And now I'm going to sew down this. And I'm going to bring myself right to the pipe cleaner. And in order so that it'll stay in the same place, I'm going to use a big zigzag stitch just for a couple of stitches. And now I'm going to take it right back to a straight stitch. Because I discovered as I wore these masks that that pipe cleaner likes to slip around in there sometimes. And this just helps to anchor the pipe cleaner in place. Now it's time to do our two side seams here. We're going to put it together, and you'll notice that one side, of course, is shorter than the other side. That's not a problem, and in fact the mask fits better having it that way. So now what we're going to do is to start by one side, and I'm going to, of course, forward and back a little bit, and then I'm just bringing it right along 1/4 inch seam, your standard 1/4 inch seam. And you can notice how many times I'm having to start and stop and cut my threads. That's one of the reasons it's so nice to do 10 of these at a time. You're going to eliminate all of that by doing that. Here's our second seam. Okay, so we have our two seams all sewn, and I'm inside out. Now it's time to turn it right side out. And you'll notice one of the things that's been created is a funny extra ear here. We're going to use that to our advantage, and I'm simply going to fold that over onto itself. You can see how that nicely lays down now. And now we have our little ear bands. These are the hair ties. I'm going to switch my machine into a darning mode. My machine's old. I'm simply taking the feet out of operation. This would be however you normally would sew a button on your machine. And I'm going to fit that right in there. And I'm going to turn it on to a nice big zigzag, just like I was sewing on a button. And then of course to lock my stitch in place, I'm just going to do a couple straights. And that one's good. And now to the other side. So pull that nice and snug, and you see here's our funny little ear. That's what I'm going to fold down under. It actually gives something much more strength to attach our little earlobe piece to. This goes in, and you'll notice that I'm actually choosing the spot where they welded this together. So that's the little bitty plastic spot that's right there. And I'm just using that as my place to attach it. Here we go. A quick little straight stitch. And we have completed our first mask. And so here we go. Here's our little duck bill. And we can bring it together. I'm going to just give it a gentle little crease in the middle so I know where my nose is going to go. And here it comes on. Slip up over the ears on either side, press it down onto the nose, and it has a very nice fit, and we're all set. So just want to finish up here with a couple of thoughts on why we chose the design and the items that we're using. We trialed many different fabrics and many different filter things, and what we found is that this is by far the most breathable, and it's also intended for viruses and bacteria. You'll also notice that we were using the scrunchies, and one of the reasons we used that particular design along with the particular mask design that we used was that the ease of putting this on and taking it off allows you to be more hygienic in managing it, and also that it stays in place easier. On the face, these are much easier to don on and to take off. In addition, we use pipe cleaners because by allowing the mask to sit just a little bit lower in your nose, not up tight close to the bridge of your nose, but just down a little bit, you're able to get a very nice fit on the face and something that's incredibly comfortable to be worn for a number of hours as necessary. So we're hoping that you will also find that this particular design and these exact materials we've used to work well for you. The last thing is cleaning these. I don't think that they would do well in the laundry. However, I do think if you use a 1 to 10 bleach solution and just soak them for 1 to 2 minutes, that would be a reasonable way to sterilize them again. Also though, keep in mind, we are reusing masks for a certain period of time. So this isn't something that you need to throw these away immediately. Use them, try bleaching them, and then keep on using them as long as they last.